For centuries, Alderaan stood as a beacon of hope in the Republic. The Empire came.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
Peace while you suffer. The Emperor drowns you in black waters.
He wants me to be Darth Revan again. Serve him as I did centuries ago. He made me a Sith Lord and named me Darth Revan.
The Force does not control you. You saved your Guardian using something you thought was important. But your motives are still aligned with the Jedi Code.
To arms, men! Defend the throne!
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
He was weak and foolish, like his father. So I destroyed him.
Master Windu, you have fought gallantly. Worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi. It is finished.
To them it is.
I have been waiting for you. Is it true that he is the chosen one?
It's Alex. Bro,
And me, Harrison, back again.
the hell are you doing? Anyway, so we have just watched 2 fan films. We've watched Rescue Mission, and then we've also watched the Knights of the Old Republic Broken Souls award-winning fan film. So, you haven't actually seen, which I didn't actually realise, you haven't seen much, if any, Old Republic fan films. Have you seen any
I've already
fan
done
films?
much Old Republic stuff.
Have you seen any fan films, though, of Star
No,
Wars?
literally
It's-
the trailers for Old
It's a
Republic.
fantastic stuff to dive into. There's another one I'll send you. I think it's actually between it is. It's between episodes 3 and 4, and it shows Vader, but it also shows a Sith that's able to do like a Cuddy Mar heart rip out. It's brilliant.
I'll take yours, fine, thank you.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously with the fan films, they're limited with their budget because they're not graced with the supreme budget that Hollywood or other
Big
firms,
studios can
big
afford.
studios can afford. But what did you think? I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of lacking parts.
Well,
Sometimes
the costumes are really good.
costumes are always fantastic. I think there's only that one has a really poor costume choice in some parts, but you know,
Obviously, they kind of look like the US Army, but
yeah,
it's a very good
it's
look like Republic.
it is. Yeah, they're able to adapt like almost aerosoft kits into what could be passable Star Wars outfits.
I'm thinking of the SIS being like maybe like a secret intelligence service, perhaps type.
It would make sense why they
MI5
were
of
actually there at
Republic.
all. So
They looked elite.
out of the 2 films, which choreography in terms of fighting do you think was best?
What was the first one called again?
So the first one was called Rescue Mission.
That was, I think, the better one of the two.
Oh, okay, fair play.
I really like the Mandalorians too. I thought it was cool.
That was very cool. But in terms of sword fighting choreography, still Rescue Mission.
I think so. I
Yeah.
did quite like seeing a saber staff used as well.
Yeah, and the stances were very cool. Like when the Guardian got the red saber, and they did kind of like that poster ready kind of stance,
like, come
where
on.
he's got the backward hold, and then she's got the normal saber stance.
It was Form 7 he was using, wasn't it?
I'm still yet to actually get properly
It's-
acquainted
I
with the
think it's-
saber with the saber users, combat forms, and how to identify them properly. Because I know what they are, but if I see someone fighting with it, it's very difficult for me to then identify what they're using.
Because when we were talking about Ahsoka before with her saber hold, I think you did remark about it being Shien.
Oh, okay, fair
I
play.
think. That's the only one I can remember the title of, but I'm pretty sure it's Shien.
Okay, because it's 2 parts of that one, Chien and then Degenso, if I remember correctly.
I remember Degenso, wasn't that with 2 sabers though? To hold one back and hold one out, sort of thing.
Possibly. No, that's Makashi dual blading.
Oh, there we go.
Dual blade fencing, which to be fair isn't actually a combat style, that's more what you're actually wielding. So you could still use pretty much all of the 7 forms minus perhaps the last one, which I think Maul used, because that was pretty much used for the saber staff alone. But yeah, you're right. The it could be used for pretty much any of them. So, do you feel like you've learned a little bit more about Revan as a character? Because for the most part, this is the stuff that I've had to go on, and then I got the book, and then I did my own research and stuff like that.
I do actually, because I didn't know he views himself as not a Jedi or a Sith.
Yeah, lots of people have openly labelled him as being neither Jedi nor Sith. You belong in neither faction. You'll forever stand alone.
When you see him and his very imposing outfit, and that he uses a red lightsaber, you straight away jump to, oh,
He's
look,
a Sith.
another Super Sith Lord. But
yeah, but remember, we've
then it
had
turns
lots
out no.
of red lightsaber wielding people that haven't had any. I mean, we once had a red lightsaber wielding person who had no Force connection.
Yeah.
I mean, Ventress, she liked to think of herself as Sith. I think that was one of my favourite moments in the 2D Clone Wars, where she's like, "For I am Sith," and then Count Dooku's like,
No.
"Nope, you're not Sith." And because obviously there's a far deeper and darker road that you have to go down to be even considered
I
to
mean,
be Sith.
Revan's done both sides as well.
He has, yeah. He's done both sides in their entirety.
What do you call it? A unique perspective of both.
He does, yes. And it's a rather cynical perspective at that, because both factions are the dominant ones throughout the galaxy, and it's just like, no, I'm going to stand alone.
I feel like out of the two voicings as well, Rescue Mission made him sound really wise.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, and how he's obviously
Whereas the other one, he
Jedi.
had more of a very slight Russian accent.
And he's challenging the Jedi girl to
show her.
Let's call her unanimous Jedi number one.
Yeah.
Like, not unique at all in any sort of way.
No.
She he was challenging her to use the Force.
To use the Force in its entirety, not just the blind one's dogmatic view of the Jedi.
Yeah, the narrow-minded dogmatic view of the Jedi.
If you wish to achieve greatness, you must embrace a larger view of the Force.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, one of Sidious's teachings, but it definitely reigns true here.
Some powers which some may call unnatural.
And also, what were you thinking in terms of dialogue and storytelling? Which one carried the best kind of story?
Well, the whole premise of Rescue Mission was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for the most part, the longer one's going to have a more fleshed out story. Saying that, though, there are some long ones that drag and don't need the kind of...
The crossover with Nihilus and Revan was pretty cool as well.
That was also very cool, yeah.
It was a bit... They were before each other, wasn't they? Nihilus was well before, wasn't he?
I think they may have had a crossover at one point, because Nihilus, I think... Forgive me, because I'm like halfway through my research with him, but he fell during the time of the Knights of the Old Republic video game, where Revan also kind of finished up at the end. So I think they may have overlapped. Don't quote me on it, but I think they may have overlapped somewhere in the middle.
Right. You heard it first, YouTube. Quote Alex. Quote him on it.
No,
there was no don't there.
Oh dear.
It was like, won't quote me on it, not don't.
Yeah. Oh dear.
But yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, the whole fight scene was really awesome.
It was, yeah.
To sort of use that nightmare, tormenting sort of feeling was awesome.
It's always been a fascination of mine, the more psychological side of Star Wars, which we never really get, because obviously, at its core, as unfortunate as it is, Star Wars is a kids' film.
I mean, with the Knights of the Old Republic third wheeling little sister, you get to see some cool.
Yeah, you get to branch out a little bit there, and with any of the books or any of the comics, they're always going to expand out, because anyone who goes out and actually wants to take that kind of stuff in is more than just someone who's a kid and sitting in a film. They actually want to know more about the Star Wars
An
universe.
Interested silent partner type sort of film.
Exactly. So you've got the kind of cliche comic books where it's just like, oh, there's Han Solo, there's Lando going off to go and have a good time. But then you've actually got these ones that expand on the Force, and they expand on the darker side of Star Wars, which has always been my fascination.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I know we've never really had a full explanation of what makes the dark side so terrifying and how it psychologically changes people. I know we get just kind of like here's a start, here's a middle, and here's an end, but we never
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get all the filler.
If you have the dark side, you suddenly get yellow eyes.
Yeah,
What's
but
going on there?
what's going on inside your mind? What's going on with your perception of the universe?
Is that a permanent change?
Yeah, well, we know it isn't because Anakin
Over-
loses his yellow eyes.
No, but over an extreme use, like years upon years,
I think it would
might
kill
be
you.
permanent.
Well, no, saying that, because Sidious had his yellow eyes for his entirety.
And a lot of Sith, sorry, are very,
for most
very
of it, yeah.
old, so
Hmm.
maybe extreme use, but
Well,
maybe
extreme use of the dark side causes something known as dark side degradation, which is what Sidious suffered with.
so you over time lose your powers.
No. It slowly eats away at you.
Oh,
so
yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
why he looked as gross as he did.
Well, he looked
Because
like he was about 400 years old.
Exactly, because he suffered with dark side degradation.
Hmm.
I believe that the Senator that you see in Phantom Menace is his true form, but then when he starts to use this lightning, it's almost like his disguise has come off. But also, he's suffering dark side degradation at that point. It's just more and more until he's fully
as well,
revealed
it's-
his dark side
It's
potential.
incredibly scorching his face, and
Yeah, that too.
that's all.
But also Vitiate, he suffered with dark side degradation. Valen, she suffered with dark side degradation. Count Dooku didn't
No, but
really.
we don't know again how long he was a Jedi.
No, fair
Because
play.
it's not really It's not stressed. Oh yeah, he's been like a Sith for a long time. We don't know when he turned.
Well, I believe it was some point between. Well, it must have just been before Phantom Menace.
So obviously we don't know what happens before then.
No.
It seems like the Jedi and obviously the Sith aren't around really, but the Jedi just seems to be keeping the peace, policing the streets.
Yeah, pretty much. But the only time that we see Dooku suffer any kind of dark side physical traits are the yellow eyes that he shows during the Clone Wars film.
Yeah, and well, no, it's not really degradation. He's being tortured during that scene with the Night Sisters. No.
I think that's the only time we actually ever see it because
Maybe.
Dooku holds kind of a more distant view of the dark side. He's mastered the saber skill and he's mastered the use of the Force, but he hasn't let it fully consume him.
No.
He still is able to have a 50-50 split on what's good and evil, whereas Sidious has done the full
Yeah,
head first dive.
I've always thought with Count Dooku, he never actually seems like a bad guy. He never seems like he's not the typical Sith. He doesn't seem
No.
super angry and pissed about everything. He's just like so chilled about it.
Yeah,
So, like-
fairly logical, and I mean, this is something that I think Tom and I raised when we did our episode 2 review. Do you think his offer to Obi-Wan to join him was legitimate?
I think so, to an extent.
So if Obi-Wan had joined him, they would have destroyed Sidious, or at least
But-
attempted it.
I think Count Dooku really got rid of Obi-Wan when he was done with him. He's like a pawn, or maybe a bishop if you're going to consider it. that way.
I don't know whether he would have necessarily got rid of him. I think he would have actually tried to turn him,
Kenobi, you can only move dive.
because Kenobi was his only reminder of his old Padawan.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So I'm pretty sure that Dooku did have goodness in him, because you see it a lot during the Clone Wars, that he's willing to work with the Jedi if it means that he's going to get out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, like that time in the Pirates place, isn't it?
Yeah, because they all have to work together. Although they bicker and squabble, they are able to rationalise and put aside their prejudice for a moment,
They're petty, different.
their petty differences, and see a greater goal in mind, which is
Survival. I
survival.
suppose.
Yeah, and survival and escape. So, as you're fairly new to the fan film kind of area of Star Wars, which you should definitely explore, because although it may not necessarily all be canon, it just shows people's creativity with the fandom that we love, which I hope you'll see once Eleanor and I's fan fiction is written and our secret project gets more underway.
Well, once your secret project is revealed.
It is revealed.
No longer a secret.
Well, to be fair, you'll see concept art way before the actual name is
Well,
revealed.
yeah, I should hope so. The Lightsaber Facebook page might see some stuff.
It will see some stuff, yes, because anything that's posted on the art bench will then be reposted to there. But what would you like to see as a fan-made film? So the fan-made films and the books and things like that, they open up a completely different realm where we don't necessarily have to sit down and say, George or JJ or Ryan Johnson, please do a film where we're going to have thousands upon millions of people actually accept this. With the fan films, we only have to have hundreds or so actually accept this for it to then be okay.
It would be pretty cool to see, like, not like a Rocky style training montage, but like over a period of time, maybe a Jedi training their apprentice, or
you know who
Sith
else
training.
shares that opinion? Guy. That's something I think when we did the questionnaire, that was the thing that he wanted. When the section about what story would you write, that was the one that he wanted to do, if memory serves.
It's never really, it's kind of like referenced to a little bit, but you never actually see any Jedi being trained by another Jedi. Like,
No, because it's like
they're always too busy fighting off.
It's like Anakin saying that he passed the trials, but what are the trials?
Yeah. What? Show me what you got.
Because even in the 2D Clone Wars, we only see the kind of knighting ceremony where Yoda cuts off Anakin's Padawan ponytail.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't actually see what these trials are.
And to see them use the Force in a less creepy, I'm on your back kind of way, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little bit creepy. It's like, oh, let's go.
I'm going to breathe right down your neck.
Come on, do it right. We were doing 50
Not at all. For me personally, I mean, I think Revan has been explored enough for now. Not to say that I wouldn't like to see more stuff in the future, but for me personally, again, I think it would be more about the Sith psychological side of things. Like, for example, if we explore Drummond Castle a little bit more, it was the capital city of the Sith Empire for a little bit. And what happens if, say, a pure-blood Sith, when they're born into the Empire, they are expected to follow the regime more than most because of their heritage. And if they're not Force users, then they'll be thrown into a meaningless role where they'll probably be overshadowed quite heavily. But if they have the Force, then they become a Sith, that is it. But one that is really struggling with perhaps his anxieties, and he doesn't feel like he's good enough, and we've already seen in episode 7 that the light side can be just as invasive as the dark side can with Kylo Ren.
Maybe a Sith wanting to do the right thing and join the light side.
Maybe not even that, because how would the Sith
side
know that the light side is even a thing? Because in my theory is that within Drummond Cast society, would they even talk about it?
I mean, think of poor Galen Merrick. As he's growing up a young kid, there must have been some points where he questioned, why am I being constantly tortured and trained in such a brutal manner? Like, there must be some...
Yeah, there'd be questioning, but do you think then there would ever be someone who'd be saying, oh, there's this other regime that exists?
Or someone maybe turns their back on the dark side and doesn't go to the light side. Maybe they take up a simple life of moisture farming. There's got to be someone that
But
does
then the
that.
Sith would definitely come after them. It's quite a cool idea, actually, to think. I mean, maybe that's something that Ella and I will write into our fan fiction, because at the moment it's very much focused around a family that we're following at the moment. I'm very excited to take them on different twists and turns. But to maybe then... Because something that I've always loved about... I'm not a big historian. I know very little about it, but one thing that I've always loved in books or films or TV series is where there's a simple family living out in the countryside or whatever, and then a German plane comes and crash lands because it's been shot to pieces but it hasn't blown up, and they then have to decide what to do with the prisoner. This family that live on Drummond Cast aren't necessarily allied up with the whole Sith regime. They're part of the Empire, but they're not evil to a fact. So when this Sith comes along, newly reformed, full of all these grand ideas, what would they do?
They sell fuel and fuel accessories. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you do a fan film or a fan fiction, that's it. It's fiction. There can be so many potentialities.
You do have to stick to a certain amount of it, though. Because that's something that I'm taking another story I'm working on, some course, where I'm saying that the Siths that they gather were powerful enough to temporarily rip open a dimension in time, which then takes them back to a certain point where they're then able to carry out certain events that are separate from the events that take place in the Star Wars that we know and love, which means that my character will finally get Alderaan back, which is like his main drive.
You're doing like a paradox, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, but it won't affect the overall Star Wars canon, which then means we're able to take it on even more twists.
If it affected it, it would destroy it like a paradox.
Yeah,
which
is why these two realms exist. But we've already
Dimension 1 and Dimension Star
We've
Wars.
already had dimensions explored, because we've already had the kind of weird diamond planet that you see with the sister, the brother, and the father. They've already said that this is kind of like a separate thing.
But is that a dimension, or is that part of the unknown regions lost to space?
I think it could be part of both, because it wasn't. It felt almost separate.
Because there's a reason they're unknown regions. It's clear that no one comes back. It's like the Bermuda Triangle of space.
Yeah.
So maybe it takes you to a pocket of time that's trapped alone, like.
But that would still be a separate dimension in itself.
So maybe if you relate it to that kind of thing, it would be awesome.
Oh, it's still
So
very.
if the characters come back with no recollection, they'd be like mind wiped.
A very early idea in itself.
Men in Black.
Kind of like a spin on the, and I think we've brought Doctor Who into this quite a lot, haven't we? But with like the Mickey Smith thing where it goes to the parallel universe and it's all different.
It's relatable, isn't it? You can bring it into a lot of things, really.
Yeah, where you've lost loved ones, but you can go back and you could essentially.
This could work for your Drum and Cask family. There could be a pocket dimension where their loved ones are still alive. Later on in time, you know, you've got a lot to write, haven't you? So
I mean, I think I've already made this quite apparent on a podcast. If not, then this is it. That
potential spoilers ahead.
Well, then it's not really spoilers, but I want to make the Star Wars a connection in all of my fan fictions. So they will be in that secret project.
Yeah.
We don't know. Well, I know, but you don't know how big a part they're going to be, because all of the research that I'm currently putting up on Light the Saber is part of that project, but we don't know how in what kind of shape or form.
Just in case you're just tuning in later on, everyone, this Light the Saber is our Facebook page.
It is, yes. There you go.
Have a check on that.
So it is a small community at the moment where I think it's just us running it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a few administrators, but not many of them are doing anything. So it is just pretty much us. We've got a small incentive challenge running at the moment as well.
Picking up views there.
We are picking up views. Twi'lek Pro post is doing very well, so thank you to all who have shown their love and support with that one, and all the others as well.
I mean, the Sith or Jedi post is generating quite a few interesting.
Yeah, you're not the one who has to deal with all the comments.
No, I've looked at it, but a lot of people are saying about the Sith are right.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I know,
it's
but
awesome.
you're only seeing that from the Light of the Saber page.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, 27 other pages have been going insane.
I joined a few for the sake of trying to make it easier, but you'd already shared it to them, so I couldn't really do anything.
No,
like,
but
cool.
When you do another post, share them to them. I mean, obviously I can't keep on doing that because my Facebook post feed exploded. And I was like, what am I even going to do? Because I can't really comment back on a post that isn't mine.
I'll make my own Facebook page just for me.
But yeah, feel free to add as many of those as you can. Don't be put off by the ones who ask you to fill out questions, because
I've done a couple of them.
Okay, fair play.
Just
Because
boring answers, really.
yeah, they're fairly easy to do. Some of the pages are actually really, really nice. The administrators actually welcome you with like a personal message or a personal post. So I'm looking forward to sharing more of those. I don't know what my next post will be. I think it will be Mining Guild TIE Fighters from Rebels.
Cool.
But I'm not too sure.
I think I might actually do a post about TIE Fighters in general. The different types.
That'd be cool.
So there's a lot and a bit of a potential for...
I mean, I don't know whether the Mining Guild ones can really be included in the overall TIE Fighter thing, seeing as they are separate from the Empire.
Yeah.
They're within ally of them, but they're not necessarily part of their navy.
And I think I might research the Kuwait drive yards as well that make or manufacture a lot of the Imperial stuff.
Is that still canon?
I think so.
Even if it isn't, do it. Just label which is canon.
They
which
manufacture a lot of the vehicles and a lot of the battleships and stuff. So
No, fair play.
it's interesting because we never really know what sort of space they own. They might have a lot of forged planets. We just don't know.
But we once again we always seem to deviate from.
Deviating time.
We always deviate from our main stuff.
That
but
should
that's
be
fine.
a thing. Deviation alert.
Maybe we should change our thing to like State of the Deviation or something.
Deviation of the galaxy.
Deviation of the galaxy.
Divination of the galaxy. We could be like divining new futures.
There you go. Something that I think it was something that I wanted to do when Nerdscast was running. I almost wanted to set up a book club, which is very telling on why it never actually.
But if you read Aftermath with me, we can do a book club.
I'll read Aftermath.
You just gotta get
all right,
into-
okay, that's fine. After I finish this Battlefront book, I'll move on to Aftermath.
Okay, cool.
Not one that I wanted us to necessarily move on straight away, but Death Troopers.
That'd be an interesting one.
Because it's got two books. It's got Red Harvest, and then you've got Death Troopers. I think Red Harvest was set during the time of the Old Republic, and then you've got Death Troopers that is set during the time of the Empire.
It's a very interesting premise. I mean, zombies in Star
Zombies
Wars.
in space.
Awesome
Because space is scary enough to then add zombies to the mix.
Imagine zombie Star Wars.
Ooh.
Well,
Well,
be like capturing ships and like zombifying the crap out of them, and then just going away. Weirdly,
that's something that because that's something that we haven't really made the connection on within a podcast. I already made the connection outside of the podcasts, but they always seem to be produced of some kind of mythological creature that already exists. So
yeah,
we've
like
got
mermaids.
yeah. So you've got Star Wars as being mermaids. You've got Death Troopers as being zombies.
Nihilus is kind of a vampire feel.
Vampire. We're still yet to really get werewolf.
Well, we've got Wookiees. It's
Yeah, but
big man under there. Oh, well,
yeah, but the whole premise of a werewolf is a creature that turns without free will.
Yeah.
So we're still yet to get that where there's some kind of transformation that
Maybe
they
you could
are
write
unable
one.
to control.
Maybe you could write one like a wear force user. Like during the day they might not have a clue, and during the night might go on like a force rampage. Just like expel force power all over the place.
What other creatures have we got? Fairies? Have we got fairies?
No, I don't think so. No, I think that's really the only mythological creatures we've had.
I'm trying to think of any others.
Oh, we've got space whales,
Got space whales.
but that's just really a whale in space, isn't it? So
We haven't really. Although saying that, Kraken, we might get that in Solo because of that weird
Yeah,
tentacle
they call it
monster, that
Kraken.
the space Kraken.
space kraken.
Release the Kraken.
Release the space kraken. There's no spinning wheel for this one.
Because you know I'm a sucker for anything with tentacles, so you know.
Ciao, tentacle pow.
So that was fan service for me.
We just love Pirates of the Caribbean for that kraken.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean too. That's what,
Yeah, definitely that.
I wasn't following the plot at all,
No,
just as long
the
as the
Krakens.
Kraken is there.
Oh, poor kraken. That's the thing.
Yeah, I was sad about Pirates of the Caribbean 3. But,
Crackers for kraken.
yeah, I think you might be right. That's the only mythological creatures we've really had addressed. I don't think we've really had ghosts, although you could say that with any kind of force ghost.
Yeah, you could do. Well,
Although
we
they're
kind
not-
of had ghosts then.
Although they're not necessarily the haunting kind of ghost.
Well, no, they're the nice friend.
They're the
Casper
nice,
ghosts.
friendly kind of
Casper.
Casper ghosts.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'll tell you a secret if you want.
Timing! But not really the kind of haunting, moving stuff around exorcist kind of ghosts.
I know paranormal activity, sort of throwing you across the room stuff. No.
So I'm trying to think of, because it's a topic that we've covered a few times, being lightsabers. I think there was a fan film that was based during the time of the Empire that showed a boy who got attached to the Jedi that came to his village to defend them against droids. And then when Order 66 was issued, the Jedi died, but then he was able to salvage the lightsaber, but the lightsaber was destroyed within that battle, and he spent that 3-parter trying to rebuild the saber, and then he fought against it was almost like an Inquisitor. It was a pretty cool story. I mean, some of the animation was a bit off, and the droids looked ugh, because they were animated as well, and they didn't look fantastic. But in terms of story, I think that's something that you've got to forget with fan fiction. It's not always going to be great
Well,
animation.
they're not like LucasArts.
No.
They're obviously doing it in their spare time.
They are, yeah.
And making it in their, well, I imagine making it in their spare few hours they get every now and then. So,
Exactly. So you've got to take story into account
I mean, they've
As-
not got millions of pounds worth of budgets either, so...
as the most important thing, seeing as that is the core of fan fiction, is the fiction that it is.
I mean, it's a hobby, isn't it? Isn't it like
It
a
is.
profession?
It is. Yeah, for the most
It's
part. I mean,
not a
Siege films, I
profession.
think they actually earn a little bit, and I think maybe the other one did as well.
Mm.
But for the most part, you're absolutely right. It is just a free time kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a hobby that sometimes might turn into a profession. It depends how good you are.
Yeah, like many people within the creative industry, me included, they hope that any of the fan stuff that they come up with will be their key into their
Into the lock of fandom in Star Wars. You know?
Exactly, or at least into their chosen field.
Open you the door.
Exactly.
Hold the door.
Hold the door.
Cry.
I know, right? Are there any eras within Star Wars that you'd actually want to be further explored
I would
within
like
fan films?
to have a bit more of an exploration of the CIS. Because they are, as so far as I know, plain. They're just droids marching at incredibly massive amounts, forwards and shooting in massive rings.
Yeah.
There'd be a bit of an interest to see some development on some of the droids, like new designs, maybe a bit about super battle droids. They're obviously a big thing. They didn't seem that great.
No.
What's so super about a super battle droid? Nothing. They only have wrist rockets in the video games, and they don't use them really only in the cartoon series as well. Watch out for those wrist rockets.
And you don't. And with the Clone Wars, the super battle droids are overshone even more by even better droids.
Yeah, like commando droids or the Magna Guards aren't really in it much, but the commando droids are also.
The commando droids, they're very agile.
They can get shot and just like bounce back up as well. Like,
Oh yeah,
wasn't
that the first appearance of the commando droids? It wasn't it on that
It was on the Rishi
season
Outpost.
1? Yeah, Rishi Outpost.
Or Moon as they call it, but it's basically an outpost. Yeah, they were like getting knocked down and bouncing back up. It's like they're even harder to kill. I don't know what was over that. But then later on when you see them, they go down really easy, so it's a bit confusing with that really. And they use swords. The leader ones seem to have swords. It's like, okay. It's like,
But as we've seen in these fan films, swords can be just as powerful as sabers,
Yeah,
or at least can deflect sabers.
well, vibroblades.
Vibroblades.
Not Photon Swords fans out there.
No. I personally am a massive fan of the vibroblades, and I first got acquainted with them within the Old Republic MMO game, which for at least your Sith characters, you spent at least 10 levels with them. You didn't actually get a saber until about 6 or 7 hours into the game, which was a bit of a way. I mean, you had to take on beasts that were 3 times your size. Had to take on numerous. I think in fact you actually had to take on a lightsaber wielding opponent with a vibroblade, if memory serves, but I may be absolutely wrong with that. Until you actually got a lightsaber, and then the lightsabers were just everywhere. I think once I'm on my Jedi account, no, I think it was actually my Sith one. I got a rucksack, and I was about to exchange it because I would go through all my items. It'd be like, oh, this one has no use but can be sold. This one has no use but can be sold. I was like, this one, oh, there's something in it. What's it? Where's a lightsaber? It's like, wait, yellow? Yeah. So I was just walking around with a red and yellow saber. Exactly, one I just found in my rucksack, or a rucksack.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
It's brilliant.
You took someone's 8 or 9 levels worth of strong hard work.
Yeah, just found it.
You sold it
I can't remember where
market.
I got it. I just had a rucksack because whenever I kill people, I always loot them for everything because I know that there are things to be sold everywhere.
Yeah.
So I just picked it up and I was like, oh, this actually has use. But we'll wrap up this episode of State of the Galaxy. So thank you very much for joining us.
No worries.
Whether you are Jedi or Sith, rebellion, if you're the entirety of the rebellion, a rebel, or the Empire,
If you're a resistance,
or the First Order, whether you are Mandalorian, Sam Person, or Mon Calamari,
or Filthy Bill Gallard.
we hope you have a very good day, night, or wherever you are spending your time, or whatever time it is. May the Force be with you. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. To subscribe, like, and share this video.
Remember, click on the bell to get uploaded video notifications as well.
Yeah, so you can be the first one to share your opinions as and when they go up. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.